Well, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Meredith Call, and I am the Director for the Office of Parent and Family Services here at UAB, and I'm so excited that you're going to join us today for our presentation about fraternity and sorority life at UAB. I've got Scotty Rainwater from our Fraternity and Sorority Life office to share with you about all the resources, opportunities, programs, and what it actually means to be a part of these very unique communities on UAB's campus. I do want everyone to know that we want this to be a highly interactive and engaging presentation today. So as you have questions, please feel free to put those questions into the Q&A box. We are doing this both through Zoom as well as Facebook Live. So we are monitoring both of those sessions. So if you're joining us again through Zoom, we want you to put your questions in the Q&A box that you'd find at the bottom of your Zoom screen. If you're watching us through Facebook Live, all you have to do is put your questions into our comments section on the Facebook Live video. I do want to mention that since this is a live presentation, as always, we want to make sure that we're respecting the rights and privacy of our students. So please be very careful to not put any type of identifying information regarding your specific student into those questions. So please not their name, email address, things along those lines, because we just want to make sure that we are maintaining the safety and security of all of our students. So again, we want to make sure we get your questions answered, but to get us even started, I want to go ahead and invite Scotty on to start to share with you a little bit about who he is and what his area of expertise and all of the things that our students are able to do within our fraternity and sorority life community.
Thanks, Meredith. So like Meredith said, my name is Scotty Rainwater. I'm the Assistant Director of Fraternity and Sorority Life in the Office of Student Involvement and Leadership at UAB. I have been a part of fraternity and sorority life since I was a college student, so 14 years now. And I'm very excited to be a part of the UAB community. It's a very strong community, a very large community with a lot to offer our students. And so I'm going to share my presentation with y'all. Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is just an introduction to fraternity and sorority life. I'm going to share information about our governing councils and our chapters, what the different options are and how you can join, and what students can expect as new members of these organizations. Fraternity and sorority life at UAB has 5 mission pillars. These are service, scholarship, leadership, community, and prevention. All of our chapters are expected to do programming and initiatives that support these 5 mission pillars. And they also report on their initiatives in these 5 areas every year to our office through what we call the Pillars of Excellence program. Here are some quick facts about UAB fraternity and sorority life. We have two full-time staff members, myself and the coordinator for fraternity and sorority life. We have 29 recognized chapters on campus that are a part of 4 governing councils. We have over 1,100 members. Our fraternity and sorority students tend to have higher GPAs than the unaffiliated or all undergraduate average. These statistics are from spring 2019. In 2018-2019, our fraternities and sororities logged over 24,000 hours of community service, and they donated over $110,000 to their charities. Safety is something that's very, very important to fraternity and sorority life. And so when I started this past fall 2019, I wanted to unify fraternity and sorority life under a value statement for prevention. And so this is what we have committed to for all of our students in our community. And it's that we will foster a community of care that emphasizes respect for the human dignity of self and others, giving special attention to issues surrounding hazing, interpersonal violence, alcohol and other drugs, discrimination and bias, and mental health. The value statement is founded on the concepts of respect for yourself and respect for others. And so these 5 different areas for prevention are all focused under that. How can we show respect for another person by ensuring that they do not experience hazing? How do we ensure respect for ourselves by taking care of ourselves and looking after our mental health? That's just a couple of examples of ways that students are expected to kind of live under this value statement for harm reduction in our community. Next, we'll go through some general membership information. I'll start by saying that our membership requirements vary by chapter, and they also vary by council. The chapters that are under certain councils all have common requirements, but then they may also have different requirements based on what their national organization may expect. A good example of this is GPA requirements, whereas a minimum requirement for a council might be 2.5, an individual chapter may require something higher than that. As well as cost for membership, this will vary, and also how students will pay. Some organizations will do dues by semester, some will do them for the entire academic year. There's often a higher cost associated with joining during your first semester than there is for maintaining membership after your first semester. And then classification and the number of hours you have to have earned in order to participate in that organization. But all of these requirements should be very clearly communicated prior to joining through the recruitment or intake process. I'll talk a little bit about recruitment versus intake once we are talking about the councils, because they are two different processes that different organizations will use for bringing new members into their organization. So the first council we're going to talk about is the Interfraternity Council. There are 10 chapters that are part of IFC. The IFC recruitment registration is actually going to open tomorrow, and that link will be available on their social media as well as on the UAB Fraternity and Sorority Life website. IFC, their goals are promoting respect, unity, leadership, and scholarship, and providing opportunities for brotherhood and personal development. So IFC does recruitment. It's a formal recruitment process that happens prior to and at the beginning of the fall semester, where students can register for recruitment, and IFC will facilitate interactions between the men going through recruitment and the chapters. IFC also practices what's called Recruitment 365, meaning that they can take in new members at any time during the year unless otherwise prohibited based on their formal recruitment timeline. So right now, chapters can't extend bids or offer membership because we're going into formal recruitment. Again, that registration will open tomorrow, and it will be available on Engage. The link will be on their Instagram as well as on the Fraternity and Sorority Life website. Next is the Multicultural Greek Council. The Multicultural Greek Council is made up of 5 fraternities and sororities. MGC provides a safe space for students to explore their culture and heritage and promotes the awareness of multicultural diversity on our campus. They do practice intake processes, which means that there isn't a formal recruitment process that you sign up for through the entire council. At the beginning of the fall semester, they will host what they call MGC Kickoff, and that's an opportunity for students who are interested in those organizations to interact with and meet members of those chapters. And each of the chapters will provide informational and interest sessions for students to attend. Once students have attended and participated in those and they've decided that they want to pursue membership, that is how that process would go through what is called intake. So the students, once they are, they've completed that informational, they've applied, they've been extended an offer to join that organization, that's when they would become a new member. The National Panhellenic Council, also known as NPHC or the Divine Nine, are historically African-American fraternities and sororities. We are very happy to have 8 of the 9 Divine Nine organizations represented at UAB. I won't read this entire quote to you, but this is on the NPHC website, and I thought that it really speaks to the purpose of NPHC, the origins of the organizations, and why they are still so relevant today. So very, very proud of our NPHC organizations and how strong they are on our campus. They have a very, very strong commitment to philanthropy and service, and they just do a lot of great things on our campus. Similar to MGC, they do intake processes, so you won't see NPHC hosting a recruitment registration like with IFC. but they host an event called Greek Speak. And again, this is an opportunity for students to get information about the MPHC organizations. It's also a required event in order for students to go through an intake process with a chapter. So students will really need to pay attention to MPHC's social media and communications that are coming out from Fraternity and Sorority Life to see when those, when the Greek Speak will be happening. And then again, very similar to NGC, they follow the intake processes where informationals and interest meetings would occur. And from that point, students can apply for membership, and that's when they'll be considered, the chapters will consider whether or not to extend a bid to those students who've applied. I'll also add, with both MGC and MPHC, they will do intake processes on their own calendar as approved by their national or regional leadership. So they may not hold an intake process every semester or even every year. Some will hold one every other year. But at the Greek Speak and at MGC Kickoff, chapters should communicate at that time if they are intending to do an intake process that semester. And they will hold Greek Speak and MGC Kickoff at the beginning of both the fall and the spring semesters. The fourth council is the Panhellenic Council. They are part of the National Panhellenic Conference, which is 26 member organizations, and UAB has 6 Panhellenic chapters that are listed here. So Panhellenic organizations, usually known as sororities, but many of them also are referred to as fraternities, are women's organizations that are focused on empowering women and cultivating leaders. So they do have a formal recruitment process, and recruitment registration is now open. The link is on the Fraternity and Sorority Life website, as well as their Instagram. There is typically there's typically a registration fee associated with that is $50. They have reduced it this year down to $10 because of what's going on with COVID-19 and the requirements for social distancing. Their recruitment is going to a virtual format this year. And so there are less costs associated with that. And so they were able to lower the registration fee for women to participate in recruitment. Following formal recruitment, some chapters will have the opportunity to participate in what's called continuous open recruitment. The way Panhellenic does their membership, they have what is called chapter total, and that is the maximum number of women they are allowed to accept into a chapter. And any chapter that is under that number, under total, is allowed to continue recruitment after formal recruitment. So that will be based on numbers, and chapters will communicate following formal recruitment if they are participating in that. But I highly encourage anyone who's interested in joining a Panhellenic organization to go through formal recruitment. Okay, what to expect as a new member. First, education. Fraternity and Sorority Life utilizes Engage a lot, and one of the things that we do on that platform is called the Path to Affiliation. So once you've accepted your invitation to join an organization, you'll be enrolled in this path, and it will have information about the fraternity and sorority community, some prevention education modules, including things about our commitment to prevent hazing, just a lot of education that you get from fraternity and sorority life. And there's also some education you'll get from your organization about their history and how they operate. So you'll learn a lot as a new member. The second thing I like to talk to people about with membership, especially that first semester when you're becoming a new member, is that there's a time commitment. You'll have added obligations and responsibilities. This could include meetings and bonding activities with your organization. However, none of these activities should interfere with your coursework or your sleep schedule. So one way to think about it is it's like joining any other club. If it's another meeting that you would have to attend, it's another activity that's offered to you that you can participate in. So thinking about your overall obligations with your coursework, maybe you have to have a part-time job as well, maybe you have family commitments. Those are some things you need to consider when you are considering if joining a fraternity sorority is right for you. And the third thing that I tell people they should expect is to be respected. At no time in your new member process should you be made to feel that you have to earn the respect of your peers or that you have to earn your letters. That is hazing attitudes that are not tolerated in our community. And I fully expect people to adhere to that expectation. If that's something they're experiencing, I want them to report it. And so I also wanted to just quickly mention what are we doing about hazing? So we have a very strong commitment to prevent hazing on our campus. This includes offering specialized training for our fraternities and sororities so that they can learn, address, and prevent the attitudes and behaviors that contribute to hazing. We have online modules that all of our members have to complete. We also have a commitment to prevent hazing form that all of the members sign annually, saying that they understand what the hazing policy is, what those actions are, and what the consequences are if those things are found to have occurred. And the report for submitting anything is completely anonymous. And so what I tell students is, if it's something that you're questioning, something that you're unsure about, go ahead and report it. That way it can be investigated and we can determine if something is wrong and any harm has occurred that we need to mitigate. So that's just something I like to follow up with. I know that's something a lot of folks have concerns about when it comes to fraternities and sororities, and it's something that I'm very strongly against, and we work very hard to make sure that we're a community that doesn't accept that kind of behavior. So thank you. Welcome to UAB. Here's just a little bit of contact information. I'll also share my personal email. It's SCOTTYR, Scotty R, @uab.edu. If anyone wanted to contact me directly. If you send this email, it will also get to me, but you can also email me directly.
Scotty, thank you so much for taking the time today to be able to share some of these great information about some of the things that our groups and organizations are doing. So at this time, I do want to open it up to our family members. Again, if you have any questions and you're watching us via Zoom, all you have to do is type them into the Q&A box in the Zoom platform. Or if you're watching us live through Facebook, then you can just write your questions into the comment section there, and we're able to monitor both of those places. I know you mentioned briefly, we were chatting earlier as well about a little bit about the recruitment process, because those are the two recruitment processes that are coming up the soonest, or the most immediate ones, and how they're going to be virtual for this upcoming fall. Are you able to speak to any of that at all for family members in that regard?
Sure. So, speaking about Panhellenic, they have a little more details available right now than IFC does, but Panhellenic is working with the women who are registering for recruitment throughout the summer. So we have what's called recruitment counselors that we call PICIs. And every woman who registers for recruitment is assigned a PICI. They're reaching out with them and communicating with them over the summer to let them know what's happening, what are some of the things they need to be doing to prepare. And so some of the things that we're doing virtually include that. We're also going to create some content on Engage that will give them information leading up to recruitment. And then during recruitment, where we would normally be having a lot of face-to-face conversations in person, we are just moving that virtually. So the very first interaction that women and chapters will have with each other will be via videos. So the chapters are recording videos about themselves that they can share with the women, and the women going through recruitment are going to be recording videos of themselves answering questions like we would normally do during rounds of conversations in recruitment. They're going to be recording those with their PICIs, and the PICIs will be sharing those with the chapters. So there will be no face-to-face interaction with that. And it's also something that's a little less, I think, intimidating because they'll have relationships with their PICIs already. It's something that they can, if they're recording and they say something that they don't like, or there's something wrong with the video or whatever, then they can just start over. So that's one of the things that we're doing for the virtual format. And then the rest of recruitment will be done via Zoom with the women interacting with the affiliated women in Zoom meetings and breaking out to have one-on-one conversations that way. And it was a really hard decision for us to go that route, because Panhellenic recruitment is just a very organized tradition that's rooted on these in-person interactions. But for the safety of the incoming students, as well as the safety of our affiliated women, it's just something that we had to do to make sure that we weren't exposing people, because it's a lot of people, it's hundreds of people that would be interacting to make this happen, and it's just not something we can do. And with IFC, they'll be doing something very similar. Their interactions will be through those Zoom meetings as well, but more information will be coming out for that later in July.
Great, thank you so much. Kind of along those same lines, I know that there are also various parameters that are being placed that our student organizations overall are working with regarding gatherings and social distancing and all of that. How is the field area of fraternity and sorority life taking a look at all of these, the interactions that they traditionally would have in a traditional fall semester, and trying to shift those for the upcoming semester?
Absolutely. So the thing about fraternities and sororities that we are very proud of is that we are values-based organizations. And so we have these values of brotherhood and sisterhood and philanthropy and service and scholarship. And those are all wonderful things. But the thing that most people think about when they think about fraternities and sororities is the social aspect. We are even referred to as social Greek letter organizations. So what do fraternities and sororities look like in a social distancing sort of world? And we're already seeing that there are institutions that have, particularly fraternities, that are beginning to host large events where people are attending, and then people are being diagnosed with COVID-19 immediately following that. That's something that, you know, UAB, being affiliated with a major hospital, we are not going to tolerate. And so really getting back to our values and what it is that fraternities and sororities exist to do, which is to provide a great college experience for our members. It should be developmental, and it should be something where they are coming out of the process feeling like they've learned something about themselves and who they want to be. And so there are definitely ways that we can do that while practicing social distancing. Each of our organizations will be providing specific guidance to their chapters about what they can and cannot do, and that will look a little different. But as far as what our expectations will be for UAB, that will be determined by what UAB's guidance is. And so far, kind of what we've been looking at is, you know, gatherings of more than 10 people are going to be prohibited. So that will change it for a lot of our chapters. A lot of our chapters are more than 10 members. Some of our chapters have almost 100 members. So for them to even have a business meeting in person is not going to be realistic. So those are some of the things that we're having to work through. But the safety of our students is always going to be top priority. So just making sure that we're doing the best that we can, following our guidelines, and still providing the best experience that we can for their members.
Thank you. And I think the last question that I just have for today is regarding, as we're moving forward, and we've got a little bit of time left in the summer, and maybe our family members and their students are just starting to kind of look and evaluate the world of fraternity and sorority life. Are there certain things that a student should be looking at or evaluating or discussing with their family member now, or things that they should be doing in preparation for the fall semester?
Absolutely. As I said, we're values-based organizations. So if you're looking at a chapter, whether it's their social media or their website, their values should be very clearly communicated to you. Hopefully they have them explicitly written that, you know, we value, I'm a member of Delta Chi, which is not at UAB, but I can tell you that our values are friendship, character, justice, education. So if I'm looking at a chapter of Delta Chi and I don't see those 4 words explicitly written somewhere on there, that I'm concerned about that. If you do look at their organization and they have their values explicitly stated, but you're looking through their social media, or you're looking at maybe some of their members' posts, if you are, you know, connected with anyone that's in the organization, and maybe they say they have this value, but I can't really see that value in their pictures. Those are some things that I would be looking at. The other thing that is really important to folks is philanthropy. So look at the organization's philanthropy and see if that's something that speaks to you. Again, I'll speak about Delta Chi. Our philanthropy is the Jimmy V Foundation for Cancer Research. And so that was something that was important to me because I have family members who have passed away from cancer. So being able to be a part of an organization that supports that meant something to me. So I would look at their national philanthropies and see if that's, if any of them have something that speaks to you directly. And the last thing I would just say look at is what it is that you are wanting to get out of your college experience. One of the things that I'm excited about for UAB, and I think is a really good thing about UAB, is you don't have to come in and immediately join a fraternity or sorority to find an amazing community to be a part of. And just because you didn't join a fraternity or sorority your first year as a student doesn't mean you can't do it the spring of your first year or your second year or your third year when it feels like it's the right time for you to do it. So that would be the last thing that I would say is just if you're not sure, go through recruitment, see how it feels. And then if you're not convinced by the end of that that's right for you, that's okay. Because you have 4 more years that you can see if it is the right time.
I think that those are all really great tips and suggestions and not ideas as far as how to look forward and finding that organization, because we want to make sure for all involved that they are finding the organization that is the best fit for them and that they are the best fit for, so that there's that great mutual camaraderie that comes out of that. So, but Scotty, I just want to say thank you to you so much for taking the time today to be able to share with us some of the resources and information about what it looks like on UAB's campus, because I know it can vary from institution to institution, and then that you're able to really focus on and share with us the values of fraternity and sorority life overall, but then also really speaking to the fact that is something that all of our families and students should be really looking at when they are starting to figure out the next steps in this process, especially for those particular organizations that may go through a recruitment process a little earlier than others. So I just want to say thank you again for doing this. And then I know that you welcome them to contact you at greeks@uab.edu if they have any questions. You're also family members, please feel free to reach out to Parent and Family Services at any point. You can email us at families@uab.edu. And then if you at any point want to share this information, this video with the other families or students or anything along those lines, it will live out on the Parent and Family Services Facebook page, as well as being placed out on the Parent and Family Services website within the next couple of days. So there are plenty of opportunities for you to continue to share this information. But ultimately, Scotty, thank you so much for coming out today and sharing all of this information with us today. I appreciate it very, very much.
Thanks for having me, Meredith.
I hope that everybody has a wonderful rest of the day and a great, in short and fabulous, happy 4th of July. So have a wonderful one, everybody.